Remove your hats as the Northern Bullitt County High School Junior ROTC presents our nation's colors. Please remain standing as track chaplain Larry Campbell of Kentucky Raceway Ministries offers tonight's invocation.
Let's pray. Father, once again, we thank you for all your blessings. Father, we thank you for the very breath that we breathe. Lord, we thank you for this beautiful day, and we ask your blessings upon this race tonight. Lord, we ask for a safe race. Father, also we thank you for our country and for all the people around the world that are fighting and continually fighting for our freedom and watching over us. We thank you for them, Lord, and we do ask you, Lord, that we just pray that God would bless our country. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Here tonight to honor America with the singing of our national anthem, please welcome country music recording artist Andy Velo.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming. In the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
It's been a busy 2 days for the Xfinity Series drivers, and it all culminates with this 300 miles of racing from Kentucky. That's coming up.
The 18-year-old in only his third start is going to win at Kentucky.
Car 3 to the checkered flag, Austin Dillon.
First-time winner, fifth time here at Kentucky that we've seen it happen.
Redick is going to get his first win in the Xfinity Series.
Odds are good for a first-time winner since there's only 3 in the field that have won here before in the Xfinity Series. NASCAR Xfinity Series racing from Kentucky. The Alsco 300 about to get underway. For more stories from pit road, let's go down to Parker Kligerman.
Well, Rick, Matt Tifft comes into this race 9th in points and pretty much in a safe spot to make the playoffs. So tonight is not about getting stage points or points in general. Tonight is about improving on the mile and a halves. Their best finish this year, 7th. They're going to need to increase that if they want to fight for a championship later this year, Dave.
Parker, the set of tires on Christopher Bell's car are brand new, but they'll send him to the rear of the field. The team had to purchase them after he spun in qualifying and damaged the set he would have started on. Talked to Christopher a minute ago. He said, I'm not too worried about it. I think it's happened a couple times already this year when I've started in the back, and it'll be fun. Kelly?
Elliott Sadler's last career win came right here at Kentucky, but that was nearly 2 years ago. This team is eager to get back to victory lane. They qualified 10th, and Elliott told me they might have to use some strategy to move forward, but he also said they're ready to, quote, throw caution to the wind. Look for this blue #1 card to get creative on pit road, Marty.
Well, Kelly, we've heard Dale Jarrett and Jeff Burton mention the new setup the 21 team and Daniel Henrik are trying tonight. It is designed to give them more long-run speed. When I talked to Daniel this afternoon about it, he said, listen, that's where the Gibbs cars and the Penske cars are beating us. If we want to win a championship, this is the direction we need to go. Is the new setup good enough to get Daniel Henrik that first career win? We'll find out in 200 laps, Rick.
One of the questions, too, will be, can Cole Custer rise up and maybe defeat Kyle Busch tonight?
Well, we've been talking about everybody but the pole sitter. I mean, Cole Custer's like, hey, man, what about me? I mean, he had a great lap in qualifying. Wouldn't surprise me a bit to see Cole lead a lot of laps tonight.
All the drivers are strapped in. They're ready to go, and that means that all we have to do is fire the engine. So let's go trackside for the command.
Race fans, it's time for those most famous words in motorsports. Here tonight to give the command, please welcome Chairman of the Bowling Green Area Convention and Visitors Bureau, Larry Bailey.
On behalf of Alsco, the world's leading linen and uniform rental company, and they are the leader because they invented it. And all of their 20,000 employees and over 350,000 customers. And we thank all the military, veterans, active servicemen and women. And now, drivers, start your engines!
Fired up when you're ready.
Nice.
.200 laps, 300 miles in front of the Xfinity Series drivers. NASCAR on NBCSN is brought to you by Toyota. Let's go places. Arby's, we have the meats. And by Credit One Bank, the official credit card of NASCAR.
You never really know what the sport's gonna give you.
NASCAR's made the call. They said the 24 went below the yellow line to advance his position. Winner, Kyle Larson.
No matter what the circumstances are, no matter what you're fighting, you go out every day and put 100% out on the racetrack.
Allgaier wins at Iowa Speedway.
There's no better feeling in the world to show up at a track knowing you have an opportunity to compete for wins.
To the 1,000th of a second, it's a dead heat.
That's why I'm in this sport, and I think that's why we're in this sport, is to have success.
And that's why we love watching this sport. Let's take a look at tonight's starting grid, brought to you by Subway. Up front, Cole Custer and Justin Allgaier. Cole Custer's been great at starting. Justin Allgaier has been very good at finishing. 2 wins already. Cole Custer's still looking for that first win in 2018.
Row 2, Kyle Busch. Everybody said that he's the fastest man here this weekend. We'll see if everybody's right by the end of this race. And also Syndrich, he's driving everybody's car. And then in row 3, we have Daniel Henrik, who may have a career night tonight. He's been running really good. And John Hunter Nemechek's driving the number 42, which dominated this race last year.
And behind them in row 4, the driver that was driving that car, Tyler Redick, he dominated this race late to go on and win by about 14 seconds. Rick killed the field.
Yeah, we're going to continue to go through the starting grid, but we want to dial up Christopher Bell and talk to him a little bit about what took place in qualifying and how he feels about this race. Let's get him on the radio, Dale.
Hey, C-Bell, it's Dale Jr. up here in the NBC booth. You got me?
I got you.
All right, buddy, we all saw you get loose and spin out in qualifying. Tell us how a driver refocuses with the kind of car you got, how you're going to drive that thing back to the front today.
Yeah, it's kind of no big deal. You know, we're always pushing the limits here and trying to find them. And on the repaves, it's pretty tough to find the limits because it's so gripped up until you don't have any grip, as you well know. So I found that limit, and I'm glad I got it out of the way before we go racing here.
Yeah, you talked about that groove and the limit and the grip. Is there a second groove at all around this racetrack? You know, this is a recent repave and struggle with single groove races, but is there a second groove that you can use even in turn 1 and 2?
Well, NASCAR's been working hard to get that second groove to develop with the tire dragging and so forth, but I don't really think anybody's tried it out too much here. We're about to find out here pretty quick once they drop the green flag, though.
All right, buddy, thanks for talking to us. Have a great race. We'll see you later.
Thank you.
Well, Junior, he said it was no big deal starting in the back. Well, we get to ride along with him with the Toyota cam and watch how he makes it happen from the back. Also, we're lucky enough with Ryan Truex, he has a Chevrolet cam. Elliott Sadler, Sunoco cam, and check this view out. Everybody's favorite, the helmet cam. And then Kyle Busch, the Toyota cam. This guy has been phenomenal in this Xfinity series. Let's see if these Xfinity regulars can take it to him tonight.
So again, Kyle Busch is definitely the favorite entering this. Our favorite crew chief is down in the Peacock pit box. Steve Letarte, let's break down this race.
You know, Rick, I don't take it personal that I'm the only crew chief on the thing when you say I'm your favorite. But listen, it's been well documented how difficult this racetrack is for drivers, the difference in the two ends of the racetrack. I can assure you that it's not any simpler for the crew chiefs on top of the pit box. When we look at the race analysis for this Xfinity race today, it's 200 laps. It gets broken down into 2 45-lap segments. Basically what that means is you can make the first and the second segment on fuel, no problem. But that third segment, 110 laps, that's where strategy is going to come into play. You know you're going to have to pit. Will it be under green? Will it be under caution? 2 tires, 4, or maybe even none. We saw no tires win last night, guys.
All right, and field's going to work their way around one more time. Let's go one more time to pit road before the green flag comes out. We go to Parker.
Thanks, Rick. Well, Austin Syndrich starts 4th in this race. The last time we were at a mile and a half, he started 3rd at Chicago. But before we were even done with the first stage, he was outside the top 10. And this has been frustrating for him, trying to find a way to take that qualifying pace and make the same pace in the race. So I'll be watching tonight to see if he can take that qualifying pace he had here and actually carry that over into the race, Dave.
Parker, when I talked to Ryan Reed earlier today, he was very positive about tonight for 2 reasons. One, he said, I feel like this is a track I've understood very well. Secondly, New Hampshire is next, and I don't get that place, don't feel like we're good there at all. So Ryan Reed trying to make the most out of Kentucky. He can, Kelly.
Well, Ryan Truex and this 11 team feel pretty comfortable about getting into the playoffs based on their point situation. So one area they'd like to improve most, their mile-and-a-half program. After struggling a couple weeks ago at Chicago, they've come here with a whole new package, new geometry, new springs, all to help Ryan get the feel he's looking for out of that 11 car. He seemed happy with it in practice. We'll see how it plays out in this race, Marty.
Well, Kelly, Cole Custer will be the first to tell you the things he struggles with the most, confidence. But he told me certainly winning the polls, a shot in the arm for that. But number 2, he said, aggressiveness. That's what gets me and helps me build confidence. Expect him to be very aggressive here early in this race, Rick.
Thanks, Marty. And if you remember back to the last race of 2017, if a guy needs confidence, just think about that race. And that's where Cole Custer really shined. Won the race at Homestead, Miami to end the 2017 season. Cole Custer, Justin Allgaier. They make up row number 1. Cole Custer has chosen the inside line. Justin Allgaier on the outside. 300 miles of racing from Kentucky, the Bluegrass State.
See Daniel Henrik in the 3rd row underneath the 12 car of Austin Syndrich. Austin actually had a hole he could have gotten in front of Daniel, chose not to. Let's see if that cost him. Car's already up the racetrack.
Well, the question that you asked Christopher Bell, is there going to be a second line? Well, right now, racing side by side for position, guys are having to make a second groove.
You definitely guys are going to pay attention early in the race as to how that inside line worked on the restart, how that outside line was working in 1 and 2 on restarts. What's the advantage going forward?
Syndrich made it work. I didn't think he could, but he made it work. He's in 4th position. Oh, Ryan Reed way loose. Almost got to the side of Nemechek.
You'll see that all night long down in turn 3 and 4, get down in the corner. That's the advantage, I think, of being on the high side, is it's so slick. That guy on the bottom loses that side force, and you'll see that happen to a lot of drivers.
They were 3 wide there.
Right there with Elliott Sadler, yep. Same thing. Real loose getting into the corner on the bottom. So these guys that are on the outside, they don't have to give up that position, man, if they want to make it hard on that guy on the inside. But got to know you're taking the big risk that he can get loose and get into your door.
Riding along with Elliott Sadler in the helmet cam. Up in front of him, Austin Syndrich in the 12. Right behind him, Matt Tifft in the 2. Yellow stripe on the back bumper of Austin Syndrich in the 12. Now, a week ago, he was in the 60,
yeah.
Racing for Roush Fenway Racing. Now, the Penske entry of the 12.
Well, I like that in our starting lineup. Junior, you just said drives everybody's car.
He talks about how challenging that is for him because he's not privy to all that information. You know, they don't want certain information going from team to team. Manufacturers do share information, but some of the teams keep some of that stuff to themselves. So he's at a bit of a disadvantage, but he's working really well with that.
Well, we talked about Christopher Bell and having to start in the back. Well, he's already up to 22nd, so making his way up through the field pretty well. It's going to get a little bit harder as he goes to the front, but these are times where you heard him lifting, like, okay, we still got a long way to go. Let's don't force the issue, but Christopher Bell moving to the front.
As Steve told us, 45 laps for the first stage, so they have time as we see the 18 getting by the 7 of Justin Allgaier. And now Kyle Busch, again, a 92-time winner in the Xfinity Series, looking for win number 93 in the Xfinity Series.
Oh, yeah, Matt Tifft. See Matt Tifft on the bottom.
Syndrich slid up into 3, overcooked the entry.
Tifft trying to take advantage of it.
2 younger drivers, both aggressive drivers, go at it pretty hard. Syndrich wisely just gave him the spot rather than driving in on the outside of him. Knew he was beaten, just gave him the spot, got his car to the bottom of the racetrack so he didn't overstep his bounds and get in the wall. Nice, smart move. Got to know when to fight sometimes and when not.
Syndrich only 19 years old. Matt Tifft 22.
Syndrich's seen him in the mirror too for a few corners, you know, so he knows he's got the speed. Putting the pressure on him and got him down there in the corner and got him loose. So.
Cole Custer out front has a 0.7 of a second lead over Kyle Busch. When you're out front and you have Kyle Busch in your mirror, do you run the track differently? Are you looking in the mirror more, or are you looking at the track to try to hit your marks?
Hey, you definitely are looking in the mirror every lap to see if you're putting distance on whoever's behind you, no matter if it's Kyle Busch or anybody. Especially if it's Kyle Busch, you know, you're anticipating him being the best car this weekend in practice and run you back down. And he hasn't done that very quickly, although we think he's gaining a little bit each lap. Cole's got to feel good. This is going to build confidence in Cole Custer that, hey, man, we got a pretty good car here. Kyle Busch isn't just driving up to us here. We're maintaining this gap.
And, Junior, that's certainly what Cole Custer needs. Behind him, Kyle Busch said he actually was complaining to Eric Phillips, his crew chief, a little bit yesterday, saying, hey, I feel like we're giving up too much on the short run. They were really thinking they needed a more long-run car because that's really what won them the race here in this race last year. So doesn't look like they've given up too much on the short run to me, Jeff. I don't know about you.
No, I'm just interested to see what happens. Like, you're right. Like, what goes on as this race goes on? We talked about this track being so different. Steve talked about the strategy. Like, is having a good car on a short run, will it be a disadvantage or will it be an advantage? And we just don't know. With this new left side tire, this track is a year older. I think this structure of this race is going to change all night long.
Yeah, I think that when you got Kyle Busch in an Xfinity race, what you need to do is try to keep him out of the lead. So he's just only a couple thousandths quicker than Cole Custer over these last couple laps. So Custer has to get that information from his crew chief. Hey, man, these are great laps. You're right there running just as fast as Kyle is. And Cole should try to put up the best fight he can to maintain this track position. If you let Kyle Busch get the lead in this race, you ain't gonna get it back.
That's right.
I mean, it's gonna be the hardest fight to try to get that track position back from Kyle. And they should tell Cole, hey, man, got some great laps here. He actually ran a little faster than Kyle that lap. You should tell Cole that, so Cole will put up a fight, try to maintain that track position. If those two get to battling.
Like the fight happening here. Justin Allgaier in the 7, falling back just a bit, has the 2 of Matt Tiff closing the gap on him.
Matt Tiff, the last lap, ran faster than our leader.
Yeah,
I mean,
this
is great speed out of these cars. RCI Camp has found something or brought something here that's really helping them.
Mentioned Matt Tiff could be the spoiler tonight. He's going to have to go by, well, Justin Allgaier, then Kyle Busch, then Cole Custer if he wants to take the lead away here in Kentucky. There's a new leader in the Alsco 300 from Kentucky Speedway, and that is the driver of the 18. Kyle Busch has been able to make the pass on Cole Custer. How did he do it, guys?
Well, a little mistake by Custer. You see he wasn't on the bottom of the racetrack, just missed the line by about 12 inches, 18 inches, and there's no grip out there. And you see right there, he just wasn't on the bottom of the racetrack. Kyle Busch drove directly under him, took the lead.
Before we went to break, Cole had been steadily just a little bit quicker, just a little bit slower, but not much. And over a period of 2 laps, Kyle ran him down, and so Cole must be struggling with the balance as we get more laps on the tires.
So let's watch Kyle Busch, okay? It's going to be a little hard to compare them because they have traffic they're going through, but one of the advantages that Kyle Busch has, and this is a great shot, watch the angle of attack into the corner. Watch how Kyle Busch enters the corner. He stays against the wall, okay? He's against the wall for a long time. He never gets to the yellow line until there, okay? So that's arcing the corner, staying out against the wall. He does that in 1, and he also does that in 3. That really helps him get off the corner. Now, his car allows him to do that. Watch Cole Custer. Cole cannot do that. He has to get to the bottom sooner. So right there, Cole's on the bottom, where Kyle Busch is on the bottom about 3 car lengths further around the corner. That is a huge advantage in being able to carry speed off the corner and onto the straights.
And Jeff, Cole Custer, here's the veteran voice of Tim Fiedel, also the spotter for Kevin Harvick in the Cup Series, in his ear spotting for him this evening. And you've been a young driver, Jeff, in Cole Custer's position with a veteran driver bearing down on you. For several laps, Fiedel was saying, hey, focus out front, don't look at your mirror. But as a young driver, it's tough to look out that windshield and not at the mirror when you got a guy like Kyle Busch coming behind you.
I think it is tough, and that's why I like lap times. I like them to give me just lap times. You know, I don't care what the guy around me is doing when I'm by myself. Just give me lap times to compare myself to me, but everybody likes something different.
Yeah, everybody does. I don't have any patience for lap times, especially when they're telling me the guy's catching me. I don't want to hear any of that. But it's definitely every driver has something they like different. Some guys like their own lap times. Sometimes guys like lap times compared to another driver, another person on the track. So it all can be real helpful, but when they get to your bumper, just turn me loose. Leave me alone. Let me try to run. The less conversation on the radio, the better for me to be able to focus on what I'm doing.
The guy who started next to Cole Custer up on the front row was Justin Allgaier, and now he's fallen all the way back to 6th, Dave.
Not having any fun right now, Rick. In fact, he just radioed into the crew way tight, like the front end isn't even touching the racetrack. I'll hope to fix him up at the end of stage 1.
And as the 7 and Justin Allgaier falls back through the field, the guy moving from the back to the front has broken into the top 15. We talked about Christopher Bell and what he was going to have to do. Well, he's running 15th now after starting at the back.
Taking his time, making a nice steady pace through the field. He knows he has a top 5 car for sure. I'm sure him and his team talked about this before the race started. Hey, no need to get in a hurry here.
Another driver on the move is John Hunter Nemechek. You mentioned it, that 42 car here last year, it dominated this race in the last half of it. John Hunter Nemechek just passed Austin Syndrich for the 4th spot, so he's headed in the right direction.
And Jeff, the other thing with John Hunter Nemechek in the 42, just getting out of that car has been Kyle Larson, and he's won the last 2 races. How much pressure is on John Hunter Nemechek after a guy wins 2 races in that car and he comes to this race where the expectations have got to be high?
Well, it's twofold. One of the things is you're driving a car that you know is good, right? You know that car can win the race. I think that's a positive. So you come here thinking, we have a good equipment, just let me work on me. I think that's a huge advantage. Now, if you think that, you're going to be as good as a guy like Kyle Larson right now today with the experience that John Hunter has, you're probably not. It's unrealistic to think. John Hunter Nemechek is a very good race car driver, but he's behind experience. So you have to understand that what is your goal? And your goal is to win the race, but you still have to have to be smart and understand that you are learning how to win where Kyle Larson already knows how to win.
Jeff, I had that conversation with John Hunter just today in the garage, and he basically said that Kyle Larson's success in this car calms him down because it lets him know that the car is capable and he can really focus on the details he needs to work on as a race car driver. Another interesting note, Rick, is he said even when Kyle's in the car, he comes to the races. He sits in the debriefs. because while he may not be in the 42 car, listening to how Kyle Larson operates through the weekend has helped him as a race car driver get the information better to his team.
He continues to put down impressive laps. That time by, he was the fastest car on the racetrack and actually finished 5th in the trucks race last night right here at Kentucky. Up front, it's Kyle Busch. He's got a 2.5 lead over Cole Custer, Matt Tifft, John Hunter Nemechek, and Austin Syndrich, the top 5 in Kentucky. NASCAR Nonstop allowed you to see that pass by John Hunter Nemechek. Kids, make sure you ask your parents, hey, take me to a race, because you know what? Xfinity and Camping World Truck Series races are free for kids 12 and under, and you get discounted tickets for the Monster Energy Cup Series events. All you have to do, go to NASCAR.com/kids tickets. Great race building there for 3rd and 4th. Let's go to our kid of the team, Parker Kligerman.
Thanks, Rick. And actually, kids would love to have the view I have right now, which is down in turn 3 right here. We talk about how treacherous a corner this is. And right behind me, you have a great view of why that is. You can see how flat it is as the cars enter. And then they get into the banking, and at that point, they've got to get in the throttle so early. But one thing you also see is Kyle Busch goes by there, lapping at cars. Normally, he's farther up into that black groove than any other car. And Jeff, you mentioned earlier, he's getting a bigger arc. And you can see the good cars and the bad cars here just by how much arc they're able to carry in the corner. Now, one thing is, though, as I stand here, last night in the truck race, I actually got in a little bit of that gray, and now I'm a little scared standing here because I know how slippery that stuff is. You do not want to enter it.
You ran a great race, Parker, last night in the truck race. As a matter of fact, got up front and led some of that race. And right now, with just 10 laps to go in stage 1, Kyle Busch up front. His gap between 1st and 2nd, 2 seconds.
This battle right here with Brandon Jones and Tyler Redick is getting heated up. Brandon Jones just a little bit quicker. Keeps barely getting underneath him, but Redick battles back. They've been going at it for the last 4 or 5 laps as they've run down Henrik as well as Allgaier.
if I'm spotter for Brandon Jones, thinking he's got the quicker car, he makes the move here on the inside from Tyler Redick. I would tell him what I saw John Hunter Nemechek doing 1 and 2 to make the pass that he made earlier for third position. To run that second groove, there's a little speed up in 1 and 2 if you're trapped behind a guy. To run that second groove in 1 and 2 to get that momentum down the back straightaway and get to that guy's bumper in turn 3 and get him arrow loose into that corner and make the pass. So there's a second groove developing if you need it in 1 and 2.
Hey, Dale Jr., we really praised Daniel Henrik in the pre-race show. Started 5th, but he's fallen back to 7th, trying to get another spot from Justin Allgaier, but going backwards right now. Danny Stockman told me this afternoon, he said, hey, we may not be good at the beginning of this race, but I think when it gets cooler, we'll be much better. But he's about to lose another spot. Said he's too tight, has to use too much brake to get it to the bottom in 3 and 4. So, Steve, just a handful of laps here left in stage 1. I'm sure you're ready for your driver to hit pit road and make some changes to that car, aren't you?
Yeah, it's definitely time to come to pit road. The question is, after 45 laps, you know you'll pit and you know you make chassis changes. It's going to be 2 versus 4 tires. I really think 4 tires is the best option just from the amount of fuel you'll need to take on board. So that's really the situation. 2 tires won't shorten the pit stop up much because you'll be waiting on fuel.
And at that time, if you do take 4 tires, you can check the wear to see if there is a lot of wear on those new left side tires. And then later on, maybe play a strategy move, right, Steve?
Well, Rick, there's not going to be much. If you watched the truck race last night, those drivers were not concerned at all with left side tires. We saw it practice today. The left side tires, really all 4 tires, are more than durable enough. It's really a question of whether your car's handling will improve with more tires. Definitely not a durability concern at all.
We mentioned at the top of the show the big picture and the fact that only 3 drivers right now are locked into the playoffs with wins. So stage points become very important, and that's why I think we're seeing Brandon Jones moving up. Everybody in the top 10 can get stage points at the end of this stage, so they're looking for any opportunity to get some more points to lock themselves into the playoffs. Elliott Sadler just outside the top 10 in 11th, trying to get by Paul Menard.
There's so much off throttle down there in 3 and 4, and you know the guys are all fighting some serious balance issues down there, and you know if you can just get a little improvement, I can really beat these guys. So these guys are looking forward to getting to this stage ending so they can come down pit road and make some adjustments.
See, Elliott's actually in 10th place, and that black and yellow car in front of him, that is Daniel Henrik for 9th. Brandon Jones continue to move forward. This last 10 laps for Brandon Jones have been really good. He's fast race car, passes be the 4th car he's passed. If he can get by Allgaier, Allgaier's going to pinch him into 1. That car is going to block somebody.
That's a fight for 6th right now as they stay side by side, door to door. I'm glad you're laughing.
Well, that outside, I'm just happy. I'm laughing and I'm happy because there's an outside groove. You know, you just never know with these tracks and their newest surfaces what kind of second groove we're going to get. But these guys aren't scared to drive in there on the outside of each other and give us a lot of great TV. That was interesting to me. Jones had a handful of race car right there, really loose underneath the 7 of Allgaier, and both of them make it through.
Coming up on 1 to go. Pit road is closed with 2 to go. And so as they get ready for the final lap of stage 1, Kyle Busch has made his way up front. Kyle Busch, after starting in the 3rd position, methodically was able to get by Justin Allgaier, then waited for just the slightest of bobble out of Cole Custer. And once he did, Kyle Busch was there to pounce on that opening. Got up front, now has a 3.3 second lead over Cole Custer, and looks as though he will take stage number 1 comfortably. Coming out of turn 4, it will be Kyle Busch winning stage 1 at Kentucky. Cole Custer 2nd. John Hunter Nemechek 3rd. Tift, Syndrich. Rounding out the top 5. Brandon Jones, Tyler Redick, Justin Allgaier, Daniel Henrik slid back to 9th, and Elliott Sadler rounding out the top 10. 1 stage in the books, and as predicted, Kyle Busch up front. NBC Sports app is a must-have when you're watching NASCAR on NBC. You can get closer with alternate camera angles, driver stats, track information. It's all right there at your fingertips. Anytime, anywhere. The temperature about 114 degrees inside the cars right now as the crew's up on the wall getting ready for the first pit stops. And so important. We've mentioned how track position is key at Kentucky. We saw how difficult it is to get around these cars. So if you can gain a spot or 2 or 3 on pit road, that makes it a lot easier on the driver when he gets out there on the racetrack. Here come the cars onto pit road. Kelly.
Guys, you see John Hunter Nemechek, top of the screen, going to make a stop here. Cole Custer, after Kyle Busch passed him for the lead, kind of settled in after that. He said the car built tight, but it wasn't terrible. They're going to plan on an air pressure adjustment up front. The very first pit stall, Kyle Busch here. He said it was a little bit too free, especially into turn 3 for Kyle Busch. 4 Goodyear tires for all these guys. Going to be a tight race off pit road with Ty Majeski right there. And also interesting, Rick, Kyle Busch asked for a bag of ice. Remember, he's been in the car for almost 3 hours today, and you saw 114 degrees. So even though it's evening, still tough inside these race cars.
A little bit of strategy there on the first stop for Ty Majeski. He makes up 14 spots, and it's just that close as far as the race off of pit road. Kyle Busch, Ty Majeski, 1 and 2. Sunset. Going to be a little after 9 o'clock here at the Kentucky Speedway. I know this is where you wanted to be last night, Parker Kligerman, but now you're in victory lane with the Toyota Camry on-track car.
That I am, Rick. And actually, one thing I wanted to point out, I know I wanted to be here last night, but we got our untrapped car here, and therefore I wanted to talk about the dropping temperatures as the sun sets. One thing you might see these race teams do is put tape on the grill, which is going to make that car faster because it's going to create more downforce. And as a driver, you always want that.
Tape is awesome. It gives you downforce and less drag. That's almost impossible to accomplish, but putting a little tape on the grill makes that happen.
It might be a while, though, because we just saw in the car it was 114 degrees, so it's really not cooling off that much yet. Field all in line behind Kyle Busch and Ty Majeski as they come through the restart zone. And stage 2 underway.
See with those 2 tires, how they work on Ty Majeski's car, that black number 60.
Sideways as Majeski into the wall. He got up into the gray, slid sideways, and caught the wall.
I don't know if Nemechek got into him or not.
I'll get a look at it. Still inside here.
Spotter's going to try to look at it. That right side, you can see a little bit of damage on the front, but mostly to the rear of that car.
Rick, the big problem he's going to have is the deck lid is separated from the glass by a few inches. As you see him go up the racetrack again, you see that gap at the front of the deck lid at the bottom of the rear glass? That is going to kill the rear downforce. He has some major aero issues on the 60.
Let's look again at how it happened.
You see John Hunter Nemechek, that red and white 42, doesn't make contact. Just, there were 3 wide. Majeski out there in that slippery part of the racetrack has the air pulled off of him on top of that, and it just loses the car. That's one of the dangers, Steve, of using a strategy to put a car in the front of the pack that is not necessarily as fast as some other cars they're racing against.
Yeah, Jeff, it's a great idea, right? The 60 was running 16th before he took 2 right side tires, which gained him all that track position. But that is a tough spot to put a 23-year-old race car driver on a very treacherous racetrack. You know, he was getting out of the way. It's just simply a mistake or a bad situation. That is the risk, as you mentioned. It's easy to say you should gamble. This is what happens when the gamble doesn't pay off.
And Steve, to add into that, before he did that pit stop, he was reporting that car was really loose down in 1 and 2. So doing that 2-tire stop, maybe they hoped to tighten it up with a little bit of an air pressure adjustment, but obviously they just didn't go far enough. That car's still loose. He's also fighting, as you would imagine, a vibration right now, trying to feel out that car.
And right now he is the last car on the lead lap. He scored 20th. Only 20 cars on the lead lap. Joey Gase received the free pass when the end of stage 1 happened. Kyle Busch out front. Cole Custer running about 0.8 of a second behind him. And Henrik also did not get off of pit road as quickly as one would have anticipated, Marty.
In 9th and out 16th for Daniel Henrik, but by design for Danny Stockman. Car just way too tight. Remember, we told you he was using too much brake to get to the bottom of 3 and 4, so they pulled a spring rubber from the left rear. Also made a track bar adjustment. So Jeff, this is certainly the time to do it, isn't it? At the end of stage 1, take a big swing at the car if you feel like you missed it early in the race.
That is 100% the time to do it, Marty. And what's so difficult is that this team was so excited coming into this race about how good their car was, and it just wasn't there. So understanding that, though, and recognizing and making those changes right now to try to get on the other side of it is 100% the right thing to do.
He's up to 11. As you see, a battle for 8th just in front. Sadler is running 10th. Paul Menard is 9th. Christopher Bell in that 8th position just in front of Paul Menard. Paul Menard in the 22. Just in front of them, the 7 of Justin Allgaier and Tyler Redick, Daytona winner in the number 9.
And here comes Seabell.
It's been a very steady pace and steady march through the field. Like a veteran, taking care of his car.
You know, Dale, I really think when you talk about Christopher Bell in that 20 car, a big advantage he has is on top of the pit box.
Car by 2 times.
You hear right there some radio from the 2. Jason Ratcliffe on top of the pit box for Christopher Bell, I think helps him remain patient. Remember that crew chief has 216 cup starts. So I think he does a nice job of keeping his driver calm as he works through the field.
Not only cup starts, but a cup win with Kenseth here back in 2013.
Yeah, Matt Tift, he restarted 5th and has fallen back. You know, had trouble on a restart. And the 3-car of Ty Dillon, he was running very poorly in the first stage, but he's coming on in the second one. Kelly, you know why?
Yeah, well, they made some changes there when he came down pit road. It's a little bit surprising because they were really positive about this 3-car after practice. Nick Harrison telling me they're trying some new geometry, and they really liked it. They said the front end of the car was really positive, and that Ty felt good about it. But in that first run, he was just really tight, too tight on entry to get through the turn. And then by the end of that run, he said he had a vibration when he turned the wheel too hard. So when they brought him down pit road, they made a track bar adjustment, but they also checked the rear end. They thought maybe something had broken loose, but they found nothing, so they sent him back out. It seems like it's a little bit better. He's gained a handful of spots.
Battle for 7th heating up here. It's Christopher Bell. His Bartsch to the front. He's trying to get around Redick here. Wonder if Steve Bell's moved up to that outside groove 1 and 2 and found any grip. We've seen a couple drivers do it. Both of them fighting for grip down here in turn 2.
And is it when you're Christopher Bell right now, and you see that 9-car Redick, you see the back end moving around on it, you know he has a weakness. You know he's loose. If you can ever get your right front to his left rear bumper, you can move that car with the air. That's what he's going to try to do.
Jeff, on that pit stop, they made a fairly significant adjustment to Christopher Bell's car. A wrench went in the rear window to change the chassis. Christopher said, I just can't drive it hard. It got up into about the 16th position, and he couldn't drive it hard anymore. Just felt like the rear end was out of the track a little bit, so they made a big adjustment, and he looks a lot faster now.
So Christopher Bell chasing after Tyler Redick. Try to take that spot away. That's for the 7th position. John Hunter Nemechek in the 42. As the 12 now of Austin Syndrich falling back. Even if you're out front, it's not easy to negotiate around Kentucky Speedway, and when you're trying to get every single fraction of a second every lap, things like this happen. Out front, Kyle Busch brushes the wall. NASCAR Drive, that's your live race day companion. You can watch it throughout the broadcast, select alternate camera angles, or you can ride along with in-car video of your favorite drivers. Just visit NASCAR.com/drive or download the NASCAR mobile app today. We see a good view from Christopher Bell. In the 20, he has made his way up to 8th already. And again, had to start at the back after spinning and qualifying and had to put a new set of tires on before the start of the race, so that put him at the back of the field.
Well, John Hunter Nemechek has the fastest car on the racetrack right now. He's caught Cole Custer and just in the last lap got to his rear bumper. It's going to be hard to get by Cole, but right now that 42 car is fast. Looks like he's going to get underneath him right here off turn 4.
He gets a great run there and to his quarter panel, do a little side draft. Hopefully Custer don't come down there and side draft him. Custer's going to give him the spot before they even get to turn 1. Nemechek's been super quick. Been watching his lap times. His car dominated here at this race last year, and we haven't seen much out of Nemechek this season. He's only got 1 top 5 in all the starts that he's had this year. I know that he was hoping for more performance this year, but this could be the night where he actually makes it happen. Didn't really have him on the radar to compete with Kyle tonight, but he's showing out.
He's another one of those young drivers, just 21 years old, that I think expectations have been very high because we've seen great things out of him in the Truck Series. We've seen flashes of greatness in the Xfinity Series.
He was winning races in late models, and then when he got in the Truck Series, everybody just assumes, they are a low-budget team, and to watch him excel and run as well as he does against teams with more resources, and it just, that was really impressive. Everybody's super impressed with that, and then it just appeared his whole career has been about him clawing to get these opportunities, and here it is. He's in a great organization with great speed, and yet we haven't seen the results that we all were expecting or thinking might be possible from John. But tonight, if he can, take care of his car, get opportunity, we think that he has enough speed to compete with Kyle Busch.
For some updates with 17 to go in this stage, let's go down to Kelly.
And we'll continue the conversation on John Hunter Nemechek in that 42, certainly trying to make the most of his opportunity to run this car. And Dale mentioned that they haven't really had the great finishes. He said, look, we've run out front. We just really don't have anything to show for it for a variety of reasons. Tire issues, mechanical issues, but he said, look, tonight his goal to complete all the laps, but he also knows he has the car to run up front. He said, I've got a lot of learning to be done, in particular how the air moves, how to use the air in these cars around this track. He felt like the truck race last night helped him. It certainly seems to have paid off. He's moved his way up to 2nd, Marty.
Kelly Cole Custer back in 3rd. Certainly he would love to get the win tonight, but one thing he is thinking, championship. Here's a team 3rd in the point standings right now, and they have 0 playoff points. He told me that has to be a focus for us for the rest of the regular season, trying to get some playoff points, because we know that will be a factor when the playoffs hit in a few months, Parker.
Marty, how about Austin Syndrich there running 4th right now? What a great run for this young man. Remember, his best finish this season out of the 3 cars he's driven between the 22, the 60, and the 12 came in this 12 car. At Charlotte earlier this year, he finished 4th. And this has been a huge emphasis for this young man, trying to take those qualifying performances and back them up in the race with speed, and that's what he's doing right now, Dave.
Crew Chief Dave Ellens told me he had a problem with the 9. He said usually when he's slow in practice, he says the car is good, but we're a little bit slow. I'm really hard on him, but because he won here last year, and he told me that yesterday, he said I gave him a little leeway. We're trying something a little bit different here tonight. So far, it hasn't been really bad, but it's certainly not out front where they want to be yet.
Four-tenths of a second separating Kyle Busch and John Hunter Nemechek. It's closing up. You're going to see every second of this battle as we go NASCAR nonstop. John Hunter Nemechek took the lead away in the Alsco 300 from Kyle Busch, but Kyle Busch is battling back now, trying to take the lead back away.
Saw Kyle down in 1 and 2, run that outside groove, and he made it work, and he's put himself in position to try to get that lead back. John Hunter Nemechek uses the outside groove in 1 and 2 to maintain it. Both of them down on the bottom in 3 and 4. See what happens down here in 1 and 2. They're moving around. Kyle Busch moved up there, found a little speed, Jeff.
Now what does John Hunter do? He just used the outside to hold Kyle Busch off. Does he go back to the bottom, or does he run the middle?
They both aim for the bottom here.
Now the next time by, Kyle Busch knows that 42 car, John Hunter Nemechek, wants to run the bottom, so it wouldn't surprise me one bit the next time through 1 and 2 to see Kyle Busch run the second lane.
You've got to protect the bottom here and back up the corner.
So there you go. That's from the spotter. Protect the bottom.
As soon as John Hunter got that lead, we thought he might drive away, but Kyle stuck with it. John wasn't putting together probably the cleanest laps, and now seems like he's calmed down a little bit, got back in a rhythm.
Right side of the screen, you see the battle for 4th. Brendan Jones in the 19, still trying to chase down that 12 of Austin Syndrich.
Syndrich held great track position so far in this race. Brandon Jones been really quick, watching him drive up through the field.
Up front now, it looks as though John Hunter Nemechek has gapped the 18 of Kyle Busch as they come up to the lap traffic. Kelly.
And John Hunter Nemechek's spotter telling him, make Kyle Busch earn it, make him work for it. As you heard, he said to protect that bottom line. This is his 10th start this season, just his 2nd on a 1.5 mile track, and now he's leading the best to ever do it in Kyle Busch.
He's catching some traffic, though, and that is slowing him down, which then allows the 18 to close the gap, get a little bit closer.
What's so impressive about all that is how Kyle Busch, I thought, was going to take the lead back. And Nemechek didn't want to give the lead back. I think John, is young, gutsy driver, he can drive through that lap traffic. The thing that I like about that is that that's how you're going to have to race Kyle to win. You can't give Kyle those positions and think you're going to race for that position later in the race. Kyle Busch isn't going to give you that opportunity. John Hunter Nemechek, he's taking claim to that lead. I like him trying to hustle to keep it.
And John's won at the truck level, but this is a step up. So to win here, you're going to have to beat more good cars and more good drivers, and he's got the best behind him, the best ever in the Xfinity Series, and he just went and took the lead. And as you said, Kyle didn't give it to him. Kyle said, okay, I'm going to try something different, drove underneath him, but John Hunter Nemechek said, hey, it's mine. You're going to have to take it from me. This is my race.
You guys have said the 42 might be the best car on the track. Well, he's definitely learning as he runs in front of the best ever in the Xfinity Series. Down the backstretch for the final time in stage 2. John Hunter Nemechek, just 21 years old, in front of Kyle Busch. After Kyle Busch won stage 1 and was up front, John Hunter Nemechek passes him and takes stage 2.
10 places a ways back.
That is the first win for John Hunter Nemechek. We mentioned the successes of the 42. The last 2 races, it's been Kyle Larson behind the wheel, and he's won those 2 races. We mentioned what kind of pressure would be on this young driver who gets behind the wheel of a car that everybody knows can go out there and win. Well, he stepped his game up. He passed Kyle Busch for the lead and took the win at stage 2. Now, can the crew keep him out front? That will be the next test for the 42. Keeping him out front of one of the best ever. Pit road now open as the field coming onto pit road for this, just the second stop of the night, only the second caution. And again, it was John Hunter Nemechek who won stage 2. Let's go to Kelly.
And he'll lead the group down pit road. John Hunter Nemechek saying that his car started off just a touch free, but then it transitioned to get snugger and snugger. It was a little bit too tight by the end of that run. It sounds like they want to free him up just a hair for the beginning of the run to help him later on. It'll be a 4-tire change for the 42, Marty.
Cole Custer said that last change actually made us worse at the beginning of the run, but at the end of the run, it was a little bit better. Still tight. Going to be 4 fresh Goodyear tires. They're going to go in a different direction setup-wise. Meanwhile, Kyle Busch here on pit road, they've had radio issues for much of that run. He said he's too tight in 1 and 2, but free into turn 3. That's where he has to be careful. Kyle Busch wins that race off pit road. Rick.
Absolutely. You see Kyle Busch and Cole Custer taking advantage of good pit stops. John Hunter Nemechek drops 2 positions, so he will be 3rd off pit road. Let's talk to the stage 2 winner. Dale.
Hey, John Hunter Nemechek. This is Dale Earnhardt Jr. You got me?
Yes, sir.
Hey, man, that was a good job winning that stage. Tell us about how that car's driving. Looks like you're having fun out there.
Yeah, definitely having a blast. Blessed to be in this opportunity driving for Chip Ganassi Racing. Have Anderson Columbia Company on board this weekend, so big thanks to Joey Anderson and all of their employees for all the support. But the car is handling pretty well. We made a couple small adjustments there, so hopefully it makes it better for the long run here in this final stage.
Everybody targeted Kyle Busch as the car to beat. You passed him to win that stage. How'd that feel, and do you think you got enough to get back by him again to win the race?
I sure hope so. Kyle definitely is a great driver, but learned a lot from our Kyle over here in this Chip Ganassi racing camp, as well as Jamie. So huge props to those guys. Hopefully we can get them here.
All right, bud. Thanks for putting on a show. Good luck.
Thank you.
Referencing Kyle Larson and Jamie McMurray, teammates over there in Chip Ganassi Racing. A great win for John Hunter Nemechek, but now it's the 18 that will be out front again for the restart. NASCAR on NBCSN is brought to you by Credit One Bank. Credit card perfect for everyday purchases. And by Rampage. Own the digital movie now and Blu-ray Tuesday. Rated PG-13. Steve, how you doing on the Peacock pit box?
Oh, man, Rick, I'm doing great. It's a great seat here at Kentucky. But here we are. We're, what, 4 laps short of halfway? Let's take you back and see how the first 96 laps played out. It started relatively exciting for Christopher Bell. Had an accident in qualifying, had to go to the back of the field, but quickly moved up through the field with moves like this. You see him at the bottom, 3 wide, using the apron on the front stretch. Another move right here under the 11 of Ryan Truex. Being very patient, kind of working his way up through there. But while this was happening back in traffic, the 18 of Kyle Busch, perhaps the favorite in the race, drove up and took the lead from the 00 of Cole Custer. He would then manage that lead all the way to the end of stage 1. A little strategy at the end of stage 1. Ty Majeski takes 2 tires, starts on the front row. Well, here it is right away, high off turn 2, contact with the wall. A tough run-in for the 23-year-old, has damage. But just when we thought Kyle Busch was the clear dominant car, here comes the 42. John Hunter Nemechek runs him down. Started multiple positions behind the 18, runs him down under green. No strategy, no trickery, just a better race car. Drives underneath the most dominant guy in Xfinity history, easily passes him, and goes on to win stage 2. But those first 2 stages, Rick, are pretty straightforward at 45 laps. This last stage, over 100 laps, strategy could easily come into play with a timely caution.
Steve, what's the sound effect you use when someone is catching someone else?
Oh, you'd like it, Rick. What'd I say? Waka, waka, waka. Here they come.
That Pac-Man sound. Here they come into the restart zone. Kyle Busch, Cole Custer.
Man, there's some guys getting jumbled up there on the back of that restart. You can see it. Happens here every time. Guys can tear up their bumpers, knock the radiators out of their cars.
Side by side for the lead. Cole Custer on the inside, trying to take the spot away from Kyle Busch on the outside. Was it a mistake to choose the outside line for the restart?
Oh, Nemechek in the side of the 9 car up the racetrack. I'm sorry, side of the 9 car is a 12 car. Syndrich, I'm sorry.
Syndrich has held on to that track position all night. Lost it there.
Kyle Busch able to move just out in front of Cole Custer, so he has the lead. Justin Allgaier back there in 3rd. John Hunter Nemechek up to 4th.
John Hunter did an amazing job around the outside right there. Not only did he hold off Christopher Bell, but he got a run on the 7 car of Justin Allgaier. I'm telling you, man, that outside groove in 1 and 2. Look out. Back there in the back.
Redick all but wrecked in the middle of the corner. Sideways.
Oh, we got a spinner in 3 and 4 in the middle.
And sure enough, the caution will come out.
78 of Blake Jones spins out. No damage. Blake's going to carry on.
Nice and easy here.
Restarts, man, they're busy. They get busy, and it's especially down in 3 and 4. It's so often we see somebody get loose on the inside of somebody as they're side by side on these restarts down in turn 3 and 4.
You mentioned the outside working in 1 and 2. We saw it there with Kyle Busch because he chose the outside as far as where he wanted to do the restart from. Again, the caution coming out with the 78 may have had a little help there.
And 90 of Josh Williams. And the 78 of Blake Jones made contact.
Doesn't take much. Cars are already on the very edge. Very close. Oh, hey, no contact there.
Good, no damage.
Alex getting through there pretty good.
Alex LeBay is able to slide by in the 36. Not so fortunate, though, for the 78 of Blake Jones as he brings out caution number 3. Tomorrow night, it will be the Monster Energy Cup Series turn under the light here at Kentucky. That race coverage starting at 7:30, also on NBCSN. A lot of horsepower here in Kentucky, and one of the greats joined us here earlier today, the 1978 Triple Crown winning jockey on board of Affirmed. Steve Cawthon joined us, and Kyle Petty really enjoyed the fact that Steve was here. He was able to talk to him for a while, actually grabbed a little selfie, but pretty impressive. Only 18 years old when Steve Cawthon won the Triple Crown, the youngest ever jockey to do that. Coming off of what we saw this year with Justify.
So I'll sit in a race car going 200, but I would not sit on a horse.
I'd never.
With its own mind and its own thought process going that fast. There's no way. I would not do that.
I've thought about jumping out of airplanes, what that must feel like, and doing things like that are kind of adrenaline rushes, but I've never thought about what it must feel like to ride down the back straightaway on during a Kentucky Derby, winning the Kentucky Derby. Just the sounds and smells and everything happening must be incredible.
Well, something that is as crazy as riding a horse is these restarts. And, there's more coming, but that last one was crazy. There's a little bit of conversation about the 00, the 18 saying, hey, watch that 00 from laying back. But right there at the start, you can see John Hunter Nemechek banging the back of that 00 trying to get him going.
The 18 waits because he's like, hey, the 00's laying back, and that accordioned everyone in the field. Luckily, nobody had any severe damage from all that.
But look behind him. Look at this traffic. Watch John Hunter Nemechek at 12 on the outside of him. They drive into turn 3. Everything's pretty calm. Now he's up the racetrack on the side of the 12 of Syndrich.
Syndrich does a great job. He's up in the gray.
There's more of that coming. I
was able to
up there. He did a good job.
Yeah, the only one who had an issue was Blake Jones. That's why we're getting ready for another restart. He brought out the third caution. And so 2x2 once again, all behind Kyle Busch and Cole Custer. Again, Kyle Busch has chosen the outside line as we get ready for the restart. Christopher Bell in the 20, a little shove. And now Christopher Bell. Oh, right behind him. John Hunter Nemechek in the 42. Oh, he clipped Brandon Jones. Brandon Jones slides into the inside wall.
Be ready, guys. We got spun, but we're rolling.
John Hunter Nemechek in the 42 saw him getting loose.
Definitely knocked out.
Well, you guys have talked about these restarts.
It's just hard. We talked about how durable these tires are, Steve. Well, those durable tires mean they're hard. They don't make a lot of grip, and that makes these restarts exceptionally tough.
It does. I was surprised. I thought that heat cycle, remember, they had them on for just a set of corners before the caution came out, but they didn't look any more secure that time through 1 and 2, which you've said this about this 42 car, though, Dale, that it was a long-run car. Normally, cars that are good on the long run have a little trouble taking off.
Definitely got his hands full. You got to do exactly what he's doing right there, Jeff, and that's work on them tires under the caution. Keep them clean. Try to keep a little heat in them.
And what a disappointing night for 19 of Brandon Jones. He's running so well. You can see right here, just Nemechek once again,
Jones
just like the last restart.
Jones is real tight on it.
He is, and he's off the bottom and up the racetrack. I don't know. Did Nemechek make contact? Did he get in the wall? Let's see. I don't think the 19's too close to him, though. The 42's up the track.
I mean, when they get that close, it takes all the side force off the 42. And they almost get door to door. Shuts off that side force to the 42.
Clear low, clear low. Checking up top, spin it, stay high. Clear low, outside.
See, there's a contact. Now they're up the racetrack, out of the groove. You see Austin Syndrich with a really good job behind John Hunter Nemechek, not to make that wreck any worse than it was. And look at this, spinning in front of the entire field, and nobody hit him. This is where the damage is. Boom! That's a big impact.
So Brandon Jones, definitely the worse for wear after that caution comes out. Still 95 laps to go and many restarts. it doesn't get any better than Dwayne Johnson hanging off the top of the tallest building in the world while it's on fire. Don't miss the action movie event of the summer, Legendary's Skyscraper, now playing. An unfortunate view there. Brandon Jones and the crew pushing that car back into the garage. Marty.
Hey, Rick, you heard Jeff say a moment ago that the 18 was saying, hey, the double zeros laying back on these restarts. NASCAR, make sure you are keeping your eye on that. Kyle Busch has now chosen the bottom line for this restart. And then the double zeros kind of retort to that with saying, hey, well, the 18's the one checking up when he gets to the restart zone initially. So kind of the games behind the scenes going on here, talking to NASCAR officials down here on pit road.
Well, that's what happens in a junior. You're like when you're controlling that restart, you don't want that guy, that second, to know when you're going to launch. You want to do everything you can to get him in an RPM range, in a speed zone, whatever you can, where you think it's an advantage. Now, you have to be careful not to slow down too much, because then NASCAR can say, you have to maintain pace. So, NASCAR will be watching after hearing all the complaining, but it takes a pretty big offense for NASCAR to get involved.
It certainly does. And you try to get every advantage you can on the restarts, whether you want to lay back a little bit, try to roll up on the guy that's controlling the restarts. That's what Custer's trying to do. The last restart seemed pretty clean. The one before that, there's a lot of gamesmanship going on. We'll see what happens this time.
Kyle Busch will now have the 20 of Christopher Bell behind him. We saw him give him a little bit of shove on the last restart. He'll have that opportunity once again. Coming back into the restart zone. Back up through the gears.
Interesting that Kyle took the outside line in the restarts before. Now the inside line has passed this restart here.
Christopher Bell able to move past that double zero of Cole Custer, and he takes second away. And here comes Daniel Henrik as well.
Question is, we really don't know what kind of car Christopher Bell has. We've seen him running in the middle of the pack or trying to work his way toward the front all night. He's been in traffic. Looking at the lap tracker, he's been just a little bit off the speed of Kyle Busch, but now with the cleaner air, exactly what kind of car he has is going to show up.
How aggressive does he get to try to take this lead away? All over the back bumper of the 18.
Kyle Busch is so hard to pass because he's so precise. He doesn't make many mistakes. Daniel Henrik sneaking in the picture as well.
What an adjustment they've made tonight to get their car more competitive. Just incredible. You really don't see teams make those type of gains during a race, and with only a few opportunities to work on the car, they have this car handling great. Talked about his speed, and he was a favorite coming into this race because he had great speed in practice. Well, it's time it's starting to show here in this last stage.
Moved up to third and closing the gap on second. Daniel Henrik, that last time by, was the fastest car on the racetrack.
It gets harder when you are behind these other cars, though. We talked about that arc that the 18 car of Kyle Busch makes getting in the corner. Well, that makes it more difficult for the 20 because he's almost eats a lane and a half. So see right there, the 20, how early he's got to turn. If he doesn't turn that early, then he's in the air of the 18 car, and it does not turn, does not make the downforce. So that's why the leader has such an advantage. He has all the air on his car, and he can run the lane that he wants to because no one's taking the air from him. And that's why you see the 20 of Bell having to turn a little bit sooner than the 18 of Busch.
And one of the reasons, Jeff, why the 20 is working so well tonight is because crew chief Jason Ratcliffe and him are on the same page. I asked Ratcliffe earlier today, do you know your driver well enough yet to make the right calls most of the time to get the car right? He said no. He said we're still learning each other. It's kind of a moving target. But sometimes instead of giving him what he says he wants, I just give him what he really wants. Does that make sense?
What he wants or what he needs, Dave?
Exactly. The crew chief knows what he needs.
Well, sometimes we drivers don't know what we need. We think we do.
Not sometimes. Let's be clear. A good crew chief gives the car what it needs to be competitive on lap time. Unfortunately, sometimes that's not what the driver likes.
Turn his mic off.
Look at these three right now. Kyle Busch almost looks to be holding up Christopher Bell and Daniel Henrik.
Yeah, my fear is that they're not really pressuring Kyle hard enough to make him, you know, to make him sort of slip up, or they're not beating him to the throttle. They're just kind of hanging on right here, and it's going to get harder and harder for these guys to expect to beat Kyle if they can't get to his bumper and upset his car just a little bit. They're eventually going to start to struggle in this dirty air. With Kyle running that wide arc into the corner, he's really taking care of that right front tire, where these guys are driving in shallow. They're working that right front. Balance of their car may go away after a few laps.
The negative to running that wide arc, Junior, is if the 20 of Bell can ever get right to his bumper, then the 18 can't do that anymore, because now he's got the hole opened up. And when Bell, even if he doesn't get by him, he can just pull out. Well, that shoves that air up to the 18, and then the 18 can't get to the bottom. So as long as the 20 is far enough behind, Kyle can run wherever he wants as long as he gets to the bottom. But if he could just get 2 car lengths closer to him, it would completely change the way Kyle Busch has to drive the race car.
Yeah. That gap continues to grow now. So as you mentioned, they couldn't quite get to his bumper, and now almost 3 car lengths separating 1 and 2, and then another 3 back to the 21 of Henrik.
Well, I'll tell you what else is closing up. John Hunter Nemechek. Look, there he is, coming back into the fight. He fell back to 8th place in that restart with all that stuff. He's lucky to not have any damage, but he doesn't have any damage, and he has the fastest race car on the racetrack. 30:39 is what Kyle Busch ran. 30:32 is what John Hunter Nemechek ran, and John Hunter Nemechek does not have clean air. So still the best car on the racetrack, in my opinion, is that 42 of John Hunter Nemechek.
He is, Jeff, but they're going to have a real consideration of how this car handles on new tires, because as they get into these runs, you just can't be guaranteed you're going to have a 40 or 50 lap run for this long run car to come in. So John Hunter and his crew chief are going to have these conversations. We'll see. There's still over 80 laps to go in the race, but if the cautions fall wrong for the 42, they're going to have to make adjustments to be better on new tires.
What adjustments can you make where it doesn't hurt it on a long run, Steve?
Well, you can't. Nothing's free. As you see the 42 now look to the outside of the 00, get a lead of clean air right there. Nothing's free. It really comes down to a balance. I'm sure if he's good on the long run where everyone else gets tight, I imagine he probably is too free taking off. You see how great that car handles now as they get some laps on the tires. A full car width lower than the 00 off turn 2.
And so John Hunter Nemechek is trying to fight and take that 4th spot away from Cole Custer in the 00 just in front of him. And once again, the gap is closed between 1 and 2. So Kyle Busch coming up on some of the traffic. That has enabled Christopher Bell in the 20 to close the gap. Now it stretches out again.
What Christopher Bell needs to do if he gets another opportunity to get to the bumper of Kyle Busch is to drive in the corner on that bumper and try to see if he can't get Kyle loose and move Kyle up the racetrack to be able to have an opportunity to get up underneath him. But not, you know, until you upset Kyle's car, you know, Kyle's going to be able to make that arc and beat you through the center, roll through the center. Look at that wide arc, man. He's really...
He didn't hit the bottom that time, though. That's what you want to see.
It don't seem like. He don't need it.
But if you're C. Bell, that's what you want to see. You want to see him miss that line. That gives you optimism.
I don't know if in 1 and 2 that's not an intentional line, you know, for that awesome arc into the, you know, wide arc into the corner. We've seen him using the higher line in 1 and 2 before.
So maybe Christopher Bell learning from the master up front. Kyle Busch running a little different line, and it's working. He's staying out front here at Kentucky. NASCAR nonstop. saw it all in NASCAR nonstop. Kyle Busch, even though he stayed out front, Christopher Bell has continued to close the gap. How good is Kyle Busch at this racetrack? Well, he's won 8 times in 4 different series. 1 in ARCA. He's won twice in Cup, twice in Trucks, and 3 times he has been to victory lane in the Xfinity Series. A lot of people forget Kyle Busch's story. At the age of 17, he was racing the trucks for Roush Fenway Racing. At the time, NASCAR said, wait a second, we've got somebody too young to be in these upper 3 series. They took him out of the truck, said you're not going to be able to race until you turn 18. Well, when he turned 18, he started racing again in the trucks and had found a lot of success. And now 92 wins later, he's the winningest driver ever in the Xfinity Series. And right now, the young drivers are giving him all he can handle, staying right behind him.
He's not running away from these guys. Half a second back to Christopher Bell. Christopher's been, doing great, driving his car up through the field, working his way through the field from last place. Still not quite enough speed to be able to contend with Kyle, but there's a little more time to be able to work on that. Behind him, Daniel Henrik in 3rd place, only 1 second back. He's found speed in his car that he had earlier this afternoon, or yesterday, I guess, in practice. Didn't have it at the start of the race, but they made some adjustments, some really good adjustments to get that car back on track.
And then behind him, Jonathan Nemechek, who we saw win stage 2, 21 years old. Had some trouble in the restarts, but no damage to the car and battling back. Fastest car on the racetrack right now. We've seen these long runs, how good he is. And then behind him, another young guy, Cole Custer, 20 years old, who we saw dominate last year in Miami. Just destroyed the field, having a good solid night tonight. So we have a 23-year-old, a 27-year-old, a 21, a 20, and a 22-year-old.
All chasing the old man. Kyle Busch, 33 years old.
Don't forget Cole Custer, you got Matt Tiff, who's had an up and down night, but thought he'd have a great
spinner.
And around goes to 60.
Tyler Majeski in the grass.
We saw Majeski have some issues. Got up into the light gray. Put him into the wall earlier.
To us, come to the left, come to the left, come to the left, come to the left.
Slides into the grass. His spotter's letting him know. Go right to pit road.
Won the Slinger Nationals earlier this week.
Huge late model race. Just, we saw that come down pit road backwards.
Yeah. How did it happen? Right in front of Kyle Busch.
Oh. Yeah, that's just, he had so much damage on the car from that incident earlier, and just trying to get all you can, never quit.
Bale up the racetrack.
You're all jacked up behind you.
Christopher Bale was chasing his car up the track when
Keep coming up top.
we jumped on the roof cam there. But just trying to stay out of the way here. Ty's trying to stay out of the way, and he's real low out of the rubber that the tire dragons laid down. And Parker Kligerman tells us that in the gray, it's like ice, and obviously must have jumped up there and bit him.
And he'll turn himself around, back up, and then head back out onto the track.
Yeah, and listen, this Ty Majeski is a really good race car driver, and he just needs time on these bigger racetracks. He's never experienced these bigger racetracks, and then when you have that much damage on the race car, it's very difficult to drive and try to make lap time, Steve.
Well, Jeff, don't look now, but 67 to go. Pit road will open with 66 to go. If you go back to the beginning of the race, we mentioned the fuel window, 62 to 64 laps. So just a couple laps, about 3 miles outside of what we expect cars to be able to run at full power, full speed. I expect these teams to make sure they get every drop of Sunoco gas, and I would be shocked if the leaders come back to pit road at this point. I think they'll find a way to make up those couple of laps.
And Steve, I guess you're thinking that there won't be any more cautions.
I don't think I would come if there were, Rick.
Okay. And here they come to you, Dave.
Christopher Bell will give up second place for 4 fresh Goodyear tires and a fill of Sunoco fuel. He was told to save hard to try to save fuel just in case they're right on the outer edge of that fuel window, Marty.
And
In fact, Dave, all these cars about 4 laps short, so they're going to have to save some fuel. Danny Stockman told Daniel Henrik at the beginning of that run, you're going to have to get after it. Boy, did he ever. He said it was a little edgy free at the beginning of the run, but got a little too tight towards the end of the run. 4 fresh Goodyear tires, and up front, Kyle Busch said he's on edge at the beginning of the run. Too edgy to hustle it, as a matter of fact, was his quote, but he feels like everybody else kind of falls off. 4 fresh Goodyear tires for Kyle Busch. He leaves, and all the Sunoco fuel they could stand, hopefully, to make it to the end, Rick.
2-tire stop for Michael Annett. Gains him 13 spots. Kyle Busch with 4 fresh tires will probably make easy work of getting by Annett. It's New Hampshire Motor Speedway next weekend, and it's always one of New England's biggest summer parties. Fun for all ages. Kids tickets, age 12 and under, free at the Xfinity Series race, and $10 for the Monster Energy Cup Series race. Go to NASCAR.com/tickets, and you can purchase your tickets tonight.
Well, Christopher Bell had driven himself to second place and had put some pressure on Kyle Busch, but unfortunately came on pit road and things went downhill. Watch the right front. Trouble on the right front. Had to hit some lug nuts an extra time. Then a little bit slow getting it on. You see right now he's already behind, and then it just got him behind. That's small. Didn't look like a big deal, but you could see he was about, 3 or 4 feet behind the guy on the rear, and it just cost him a bunch of spots.
Pit road is so important, and we've got Steve down there on the Peacock pit box.
Yeah, Rick, we mentioned about how these drivers are going to have to worry about saving fuel if it goes green, but that's a long ways from the finish. The first thing these drivers are going to have to do, find a way to get through the restart. You have Michael Annett out there on 2 old tires, which could stack up the restart just like this. The 00 here hangs back a little bit on this restart. That stacks up the field behind them. Look at them back here jumping out of line, just trying to find an advantage. And then have the 19 go around, Junior. These restarts have been super chaotic.
Yeah, I mean, these guys are on eggshells on restarts, especially on sticker tires. But apparently, even after a cycle or two, there's still not a lot of grip, and you can see, and it doesn't take much. These cars being so close together, they disturb the air off of each other, and you can be put in a precarious situation that can get your car really out of shape.
Yeah, now with 64 to go, it's only going to get more aggressive. Guys are going to get even closer to each other, and
well,
you
Jeff,
see
how
right
about
here.
This? Yeah.
Yeah, right here. So the 18 picked the outside.
Michael Annett, actually.
No,
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The 18 is on the outside, and I think that's a huge advantage. Kelly, what do you have?
Trouble for the 42. John Hunter Nemechek saying that he doesn't have any power. The dash is not lit up. They told him to cycle through the battery. That does not seem to have fixed it. They told him now to bring it to pit road.
Oh, that's heartbreaking.
If he can get to pit road. He's up on the racetrack now, and so they won't be able to come to the green flag for the restart.
He was going to restart in third.
Steve, there's only a few things inside that car that John Hunter can do to sort of cycle the system, if you will, or reboot the system.
That's it, Dale. So basically you ask yourself, maybe it's a dead battery. Some cars run 2 batteries. Some teams opt to run just 1 battery. He could go from 1 to 2. The other thing is power on, power off. See if it resets the ECU. Unfortunately, that doesn't seem to be helping the 42 as he goes, reset the electrical system, the ignition box. You know, there's only so much they could do. Go to a second ignition box, but it's a pretty helpless feeling for the driver right here.
His average position tonight, running through 137 laps, was 4th. That's how good that car was tonight. And one of the fastest we saw, as he's the only guy we've seen be able to run by Kyle Busch.
Yeah, that was, one of the guys that's put on a show tonight. Unfortunately, he's not going to be able to continue that for us.
Yeah, I was looking at the restart, and I saw the 18 on the outside and the 5 on the inside, and I knew that John Hunter was restarting 3rd, and I thought that was a huge advantage to the 18 because the 5 is on 2 and the 18 is on 4. I thought that John Hunter was going to be trapped behind the 5. Well, now it's the 00 that's trapped behind the 5.
Coming back to the restart zone, Michael Annett on the inside, Kyle Busch on the outside.
Kyle, he knows that there's the grip up there in 1 and 2. I don't think he's going to take long to get the lead here away from Annett around the top of 1 and 2. He's going to hammer around that top, and there you go. Just not enough grip in those 2 tires.
Oh, contact there. Michael Annett keeps it off of the wall, though. Daniel Henrik up to 2nd.
Obviously not enough grip. Annett trying to find his way back in line. Shuffled everybody up. I mean, everybody has to watch something like that happen and decide whether to lift off the gas or not. You can't jump out of the throttle, lose a lot of positions. Everybody's bunched up. This is an opportunity to take positions, not lose them. 3 wide.
Matt Tifft in the middle. Ryan Reed in the 16. And Tyler Redick in the 9, also trying to get by Tifft.
Ryan Reed trying to take spots when he can. Take advantage of these guys who are having trouble.
And that 12 of Syndrich has run so well all night long, but you get in the wrong line on this restart, and all the work you did to get that track position can be gone in 1 corner. That Ryan Reed has fought himself up through these restarts back to 8th. Nice job.
Ryan Reed, so many times you look at restrictor plate races for Ryan Reed because he's got 2 wins in the Xfinity Series. Both of them came at Daytona. Dave.
And Rick, remember what he told me earlier today? I understand Kentucky, and I feel like we have a program that learned from Kentucky last year and are going the right direction here. Next week at New Hampshire, I'm not so sure. So restarts, the veteran that he is, as well as this track playing into Reed's favor, he's trying to make something out of this night, even though he's losing spots right now.
Dropped a couple there to Tifft and Tyler Redick. He's won in the ARCA Series here, so Ryan Reed not unfamiliar with success here at Kentucky.
There's a battle for the lead. Kyle Busch, Daniel Henrik. We lost John Hunter Nemechek. Can Henrik get up in here and make this a show? Not let Kyle Busch run off and win this thing with ease.
And how about Christopher Bell? We said how much trouble he had, and we showed the trouble he had on this pit stop. Well, he has driven back to 4th. In 4 laps since the restart, he's driven all the way to 4th place.
On the move for Christopher Bell, 6 spots since the restart. Marty.
And Rick, what about the tenacity for Daniel Henrik and Danny Stockman and that race team tonight? Stalking Kyle Busch here, and he might get the lead here in 1 and 2. They have taken a spring rubber out of the left rear, put one in the right rear, 5 rounds of wedge, 2 rounds of track bar, and they gotten a lot better, Rick.
Here he comes to the inside, Daniel Henrik, trying to be just the 2nd driver tonight to get by the 18.
It just feels soft and there's nothing to lead on. It won't go.
Right on by. Daniel Henrik leading in Kentucky.
That's Kyle Busch.
Drive away.
Kyle Busch talking about the balance of his car. Nothing to lean on. That tells me that he's lacking side force. He's lacking lateral grip in the right rear. When he drives down in the corner, you could see it in the center of 1 and 2. When Daniel Henrik got underneath him, Kyle just couldn't get to the throttle like he wanted to and chase the back of the car all the way up on turn 2.
And Allgaier's putting pressure on him now. You have to wonder if maybe they made an air pressure change thinking they were going to get a long run. And as Steve said, if Steve was crew chief in a car, he wouldn't pit again. So maybe they lowered the air pressure, which is going to hurt this thing taking off. But on the long run, it could come back.
They did, Jeff. They made an air pressure adjustment. He said it was too edgy on that last run, early in the run, and this run also now too edgy early in the run to attack like Kyle would like.
Well, how far will Daniel Henrik get out front? It's 7/10 of a second now.
Go as far as you can, because you know Kyle Busch is going to be coming. No saving tires. Allgaier
How about this run? Justin Allgaier to the inside, trying to take second away from Kyle Busch. Allgaier going into turn 1.
Kyle's going to try hard to stay there. Just can't do it. This lets Christopher Bell close in on this battle, and Christopher seems like he's got one of the better cars right now. Oh, trouble for Elliott Sadler here on the back straightaway.
Caution comes out. Sadler running 8th.
Hit the right side pretty good, Kevin. 2 posts to the fence. Did he hit me? Yeah, he hit you.
Oh, obviously some contact with somebody else.
Let's see what happened here. Matt Tiff on the inside just gets loose underneath Elliott, and just a lot of, it's tough on that inside to have the grip you need and the side force you need. And Elliott trying to race hard on the outside groove. There's grip out there to do that.
All clear.
See all that dust flying out from underneath the car, and that's what happened. So right here, he's got the car under control, but now he's in that dust, and it's just no slowing it down. There's no grip outside of that dark black part of the racetrack.
Elliott Sadler brings out caution number 6 from Kentucky. That means another restart. Henrik will be up front. Kyle Busch, running 3rd, has come to pit road.
And Rick, he said the car was just so loose. He didn't know what happened to it. He said it just was falling over on the right rear and just so soft. You see the track bar adjustment. He said he thought even that the right rear jack screw might be backing out inside the car. That's how loose the car had gotten for Kyle Busch. So some pretty drastic changes trying to tighten up that 18 machine, Kelly.
And that one of Elliott Sadler also on pit road. They spent some time on that right rear in particular where he hit the wall to repair some of that damage. Elliott saying he was just been way too tight. You see they made a chassis adjustment as well, Parker.
And Kelly, the 2 car of Matt Tiff, you see the 1 car there still run around and fix some of the damage. He stayed out because they felt like the reason he got loose and got into Elliott Sadler was just that Elliott crowded him on that door, took away that side force. He got a little bit loose, and that's why he got in, but felt like this car is handling well overall, and that the best strategy was to stay out right here.
Well, I think the severity of Kyle Busch's situation showed why he, pitted there. He's going to restart in about 14th, 15th position, and there's 52 to go. That's a long way to go in 52 laps. That shows you, Junior, that he just did not think he could win with what he had.
There's that, and there's, it's a win or lose for them. There's no points, so let's listen to some radio, see if we can understand what's going on.
We're not going to win. What do you want to do? Back. We'll come back. We're all right here. Just soft on the right rear. You think it's soft or just too loose right now? We just got ourselves too free. I don't know. Chicken or the egg?
Heard him right there. What are we going to do? We're not good enough to win. Let's come down pit road and make a change.
And Eric Phillips, his crew chief, he's like, hey, man, we're going to pit. It's all good. We'll be all right.
Well, the reason there might be some frustration with Kyle Busch is because something's happened on the racetrack that hasn't happened in a long time. He's being passed. Happened with John Hunter Nemechek in the 42 earlier.
Here's Henrik going by just recently to take the lead. I think Kyle's issues were that severe, but it seems like as this race going on, as this race gets longer, it's getting worse. Balance on this car. We get further into this race, and here's Justin Allgaier going by. Shortly after this, they decide to come down pit road.
We haven't talked much about Justin Allgaier tonight, but he is the kind of guy that hangs around and finds a way to win these races. And here he is in second place with going to be about 49 to go, and he dropped the green flag. So don't count this man out right here. He is operating, I think, at the height of his career. He is flat getting it done. I have to admit, I didn't know how good Justin Allgaier was, but he's proven to me this year that he can do it. You put him in those situations, and the moment's not too big for him. He can pull wins off, and if you're Daniel Henrik, although Kyle Busch has gotten further back in the pack, you're still going to have to beat Allgaier, and Allgaier is tough to beat.
And Marty, I think you're standing by a Truck Series crew chief champion as well as the guy who knows how to win here.
That would be Danny Stockman, who's been a busy dude tonight. I've been bragging on how busy you guys have been. You made just a couple of changes to that 21, haven't you?
Yeah, that's an understatement, a couple. I don't know, we were really good yesterday and started this race off. We just plowing tight. Really didn't do much last night and this morning to change much for the race, and we've definitely had to work on it. We've had our monies, they got our monies out of us tonight, so hopefully we can hold them off. I mean, the car's back to where it should be, and he's happy, and clean air is our friend. So just thanks to South Point, everybody at Chevrolet, and everybody at RCR, and let's see if we can't do it.
Going to be green with 49 to go. Going to be interesting to see if Daniel Henrik can get career win #1, Dave.
Marty, playing off of what Jeff Burton was saying about Justin Allgaier, they've been chipping away at that race car all night. The crew chief told me before the race, I have no idea what we've got. About 50 laps ago, Justin Allgaier said it's a 20 tight out of 10. That's way tight, and they've fixed it, and now he's fast.
That's really tight. A 20 out of 10.
Yeah.
It's a whole new race, guys. Everybody's thinking Kyle Busch isn't in the picture right now. A lot of these guys are seeing this as an opportunity for them to get a win tonight.
Henrik on the inside, Allgaier on the outside. Back up through the gears. 49 laps to go.
Allgaier with a great restart with Custer pushing him. Can he use this outside to clear Henrik? Got to run.
Little wiggle out of Christopher Bell just behind Henrik, and Allgaier
tries to go down,
almost cleared him.
Almost. Henrik stayed on that quarter panel side draft. Down at 3 though. It's
little wiggle out of Henrik, and now Allgaier has the lead.
See Bell trying to get up in there and mix it up, but the 3 wide around him.
Redick to the inside, and the 9 of Redick will go by. Here comes Cole Custer on the outside as well. That outside line starting to work. Redick gets a little bit loose. Cole Custer trying to go by as Christopher Bell comes to his inside.
Every time they got on the outside, the inside gets pulled around. The 20 was able to kill the 00. Here comes the 11 of Ryan Truex.
Out of nowhere. I talked to him today, and they were really excited because they came to this racetrack with a whole new front suspension, something they've never tried before, something he and his crew chief have never tried before. Was really excited about his opportunity today, and it's starting to show.
How about how quickly the 18 is moving up? Kyle Busch already up to 8th now.
Yeah, whatever the issue was, it is definitely seems to be repaired on this 18, Rick. On the restart, you remember this is a narrow track. He couldn't do his patented top lane 3 wide gain positions. It actually took him a lap to get going, but then he was easily able to gain those 5 spots.
19 cars on the lead lap, 46 laps remain. A lot of time for the 18 or numerous others to go up and chase Allgaier, who has the lead.
You heard the crew chief, Danny Stockman, on the 21 car saying, you know, he felt good about it. We had clean air, right? That's clean air is your friend. Well, now you don't have it anymore. You know, now you've got to try to find your way around the 7 car. Obviously, you want the lead, but what you really want is that clean air. In case you get a restart, you can position yourself where you want to be. He had the lead, was not able to keep it, but now he can change his thought process and his restart procedure to try to have a better restart to keep that lead.
That's right, and if he's able to keep pace with Justin Allgaier here, the thing that he hasn't maybe done tonight and maybe needs to do as we go through this run is move around a little bit. You know, he knows there's a little grip up in 1 and 2. If he's stuck behind the 7 car here, maybe a little higher line in 1 and 2 to see if he can get a good run on the 7 down the back straightaway would be a good option. Hopefully he's either tried that or he's got that information from his spotter that that speed is there, that grip is there in that lane.
See the ages of the drivers in the top 7 right now.
Yeah, Henrik's going to have a tough time beating that old guy, Allgaier. 32.
Henrik was the fastest last lap. This lap here, Allgaier just a little quicker.
And Christopher Bell, that last time by, the second quickest. And Christopher Bell running 3rd. There you see him in the picture now.
He's not been able to keep pace with these front 2 so far.
Justin Allgaier on the restart, able to jump out in front of Daniel Henrik, and now has a 0.2 of a second lead. Christopher Bell, Cole Custer, and Ryan Truex making up the top 5 at Kentucky as we go NASCAR nonstop. Joey Gase in the 35. You see the back bumper cover flying off of that car, and into the garage he will go. Been a little bit of a tough night for Joey Gase. He was running 21st. Allgaier out front with Henrik, and a pretty good battle was building there as Henrik was able to close the gap on Allgaier, and just as he was getting to his back bumper is when the caution came out. Now just 38 laps to go. Steve, anybody come to pit road?
Well,
other than Kyle Busch potentially?
I don't think Kyle Busch. I think he's trying to fake some guys in front of him to come to pit road. He gets Tyler Redick. That's one more position on the racetrack. So no surprise, the back half of the lead lap. Good decision. They've come to pit road and used their last set of tires, Dave.
9 of Tyler Redick comes to his pit stall. He'll get the fresh rubber and an air pressure adjustment and a fill of Sunoco fuel. Hopefully that will be better to get him closer to the front, Parker.
Right, Dave. And Matt Tifft also pitted, did 4 tires. He's just a little bit tight in the center of the quarter inside that 2 car right now, hoping to use those tires to get back in the top 10.
And again, a few cars making their way on to pit road, quite a few staying out. You're watching the Alsco 300 from Kentucky. Can Daniel Henrik join the first-time winners at Kentucky? Well, he's in a pretty good position right now. He's chasing after Justin Allgaier. The caution came out for the 35 of Joey Gase, and he was racing hard with the 5 of Michael Annett. Maybe patience ran out here between the two.
These two guys racing hard, then driving down into turn 3. You see Annett underneath Gase, and they make contact. That's what caused Gase to go around and get into the wall.
And with all that damage, Joey Gase went back into the garage.
Gase, a little bit of a underfunded team, you know, the damage in race cars only sets them further back. But I'm sure there'll be a conversation between he and Annett when this race is over.
35 laps to go. And you see the win totals for the drivers in the top 6. And yes, Kyle Busch has made his way into the top 6.
So what
Henrik looking for his first win, as is Ryan Truex.
I'm sorry. So what restarts in the Xfinity Series, the Truck Series, the Cup Series have turned into, Junior, is the art of pushing. And so we've seen that at Daytona and Talladega for forever. But now it's come to these kind of racetracks. So the guy that gets the best restart is the guy that has the best push, the guy pushing him behind him. So right now, Allgaier, what he needs is Bell to be on his rear bumper pushing him to turn 1. What Henrik needs is Custer on his rear bumper pushing. And I think a lot of the decision on what line you're going to pick is the guy that's behind you. The outside line is what you want, it appears to me. But if you don't think the guy behind you is going to push you, then it's hard to pick. So let's see as we watch this restart, who does the best job of pushing who?
So far tonight, I think Christopher Bell in his situations when he's been able to do that, he's done a great job. But again, that outside line's so good around 1 and 2. That's what I would want to restart in. Just hoping that Custer can get that restart that gives me the help I need, shoving me off into turn 1.
Race leader is Justin Allgaier in the 7. He's chosen the outside line. So he will have behind him Cole Custer as they come back into the restart zone.
There you see it. Cole Custer does get a great restart. That's what you want if you're the control car. Let's get that help. The bumpers on these cars line up so well.
And Henrik with a great job of clearing Custer.
Custer's in a little trouble there.
Yeah, Bell cleared him. Now he's under attack from Busch.
Kyle Busch to the inside trying to take that 4th spot away, and he will from Cole Custer.
And Ryan Reed trying to get underneath Custer.
He's an opportunist. He's an opportunist tonight on these restarts, getting another position.
And we saw a little bit very close there for Cole Custer. May have got into the wall.
He just doesn't have the trust in there to drive it in, but he's going to make the distance up on the throttle and exit.
And Custer looked like he had a great push Is that what hurt him as we see this battle now? Christopher Bell is moving to the inside of Henrik, and Bell takes second away.
Side by side here with two great battles. Cole Custer just stuck on that outside, can't get clear.
Ryan Truex falling back as well in the 11. Here comes Paul Menard in the 22 on the right side of your screen.
Cole
left
just
side.
cannot shake off Ryan Reed.
Christopher Bell has second. Henrik running third. Kyle Busch back in fourth. Everyone chasing after Justin Allgaier now.
Custer finally clear. I think that's the end of that.
Looking back from Ryan Truex, you see the 22 of Paul Menard. Allgaier, we saw 7 career wins already and still searching for that championship in the Xfinity Series. Dave.
Rick, talking to Jason Burdett, his crew chief today, he reminded me, and so did a couple of other team members, just how much of a better racer this guy is than a practicer or even a qualifier. He said for some reason, I don't know why, maybe it's judging himself off of other cars, once he gets in the race mode, Justin is so much more impressive. So sometimes when he doesn't qualify well, we're not that concerned. And tonight, Justin's showing he is a great racer out front.
Situation is I don't think that Justin has the best car. He hadn't had the best car tonight of those guys behind him, and they're showing that by running a little bit faster than him. Now only a couple thousandths here and there. Justin has to run the perfect lap to be able to keep it at that. And the clean air is his advantage. Can he keep that, if he keeps that clean air in that lead, that's going to be an advantage as well. But I think these guys are going to be on his bumper the rest of the way.
Justin Allgaier, you can use the word opportunistic for this driver, because in the ARCA Racing Series, he entered the last race of the year in third in points. The two guys in front of him were Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and Scott Speed. As they are battling for the championship in the ARCA Series in 2008, those two get mad at each other, and they end up wrecking each other. Justin Allgaier goes on, has a good enough finish to win the championship in the ARCA Series in 2008. He's opportunistic. He waits for those moments. He seizes the moments and takes advantage of it.
There again, he's 5th fastest on that lap. Christopher Bell behind him is 3rd quickest, but only a couple thousandths, a 30.36 to a 30.34. I think Christopher Bell will slowly chip away at that lead, but it's going to be tough to get by Justin if Justin runs, smooth laps. Can Christopher Bell get close enough to disturb the air around Justin's car and get him up off the bottom?
And right now we're not seeing a lot of slow cars in front of Allgaier, so he doesn't have any kind of traffic that he has to slow down for. But in 26 laps, is that going to change? Because
absolutely.
They are definitely running faster than quite a few cars on the track. Allgaier out front, but for how long? NASCAR nonstop. We mentioned lap traffic could come into play as far as the lead for Justin Allgaier and the gap between Allgaier and Bell. Well, it did just happen, although Allgaier's been able to stay out front.
See Allgaier catch Benny Miller, and Benny not on the bottom of the racetrack, so Bell's like, I'm going underneath you. Benny goes to the bottom. Bell can't go there. Henrik's like, I got you. I'm coming. I'm making 3 wide.
Oh, my, what a close call.
That's great. Yeah. That's so fun.
901, 21 with a run out back.
I know y'all are watching at home, you know, on nonstop. We were up here yelling what was going on, but all that happened, and it's gotten cleaned out now, and Bell is running him down.
Yep. Chopped a lot off of that distance that he lost going through that lap traffic. He can get to right about here, and then it gets a little tougher because of that dirty air. And as long as Justin is smart, I guess, and runs wherever Christopher was running, Christopher's going to struggle. So I would be on the spotters. I'd be on the spotter to say, hey, tell Christopher where those guys are running, where they've been running throughout the race. That second groove in 1 and 2 may be the best bet for Christopher to get by the 7 if he wants to change his line and gain a little speed.
Under 19 laps to go. Want to take a look at tonight's Toyota driver update. Running in that second spot, Christopher Bell. And just 2 spots back, Kyle Busch in 4th. Marty.
Rick, we all expected a charge from Kyle Busch after he took on those tires, but he has made it to 4th and stopped, and Kyle knows why. Take a listen.
I don't know why, it's slow. I can't output any harder. It won't go any faster.
Just doesn't have the speed in the 18 he would like. Also now he says it has a vibration all the way through the drive shaft. This is his next to last start in the Xfinity Series this year. Not going the way the 18 wanted, Rick.
Gap closing once again. 1st, 2nd, and 3rd.
His gain is laid off the wall. He drives straight in the corner with speed to center down here. I wish I could do that. I know, I just want you to know.
So there you go. Justin Allgaier cannot do with his car what he wants to do, and Christopher Bell can.
Battle for the lead is heated up, man. Oh, Christopher Bell, he's close enough to disturb the 7. He gets to the throttle. Here he goes.
To the inside.
Bottom, he's there.
Christopher Bell trying to take the lead away from Allgaier. Bell out front, but Henrik making the move as well. He takes 2nd away.
Henrik's having to deal with the 7, though. He's disturbing the back of Henrik's car off the corner. Henrik can't get the throttle down. He's clear there, and its question now is, does Henrik have enough race car, or is C. Bell going to drive off from both these guys?
Yeah, Henrik can run Christopher Bell down, but I don't know if it's because the 7 was holding Bell up.
Here comes the 18. 15 laps to go. When this show started, I believe someone mentioned the 20 and the 18 and the 21 were all going to be in contention.
And that's a great corner by Henrik right there. I don't know if Christopher missed the corner or what, but Henrik right through the center and through throttle. Gained a ton of time in 1 and 2. Good, decent exit.
That was a good corner right there. I mean, really, you think about it, he's gaining a little bit down the straightaway. Was able to get that car right on the white line.
Let's see what happens down here. If C-Bell has a little bit better corner. Definitely entering harder. Henrik's car looks pretty good.
Yeah, Henrik beats him off the corner. You saw Bell enter the corner harder, carry more speed,
Little by little, coming back,
Henrik beat him off the corner.
We are coming down to the end, as you heard. 13 to go, coming this time by.
And guys, the team has really been harping on Henrik to back up the corners. Jeff, you can talk about how that helps him, but backing up those corners, clearly he's catching the 20.
Yeah, Marty, the key is, you know, you've got to find a way somewhere your car is better than the guy in front of you. And right now it's all on corner exits. So Henrik's got to be careful not to overdrive the entry. Enter easy and use that corner exit speed to run him down.
We talked about it all race long. You talked about it, Jeff, about how Henrik didn't have a great corner there. We talked about how the guy in second place has to almost chop the entrance and run in a little shallow, but Henrik has not. He's actually been arcing the entry pretty good, and that's why he's able to, that's helping him actually make these great exits. But he missed that entry in turn 3 and 4 the last lap. That's the sacrifice you make trying to make that arc. Sometimes you never get to the bottom.
And so Henrik missed his mark, as you said. Now he's got to get back in that rhythm. He's got He can't panic and say, oh, I gave my shot up, and then start over trying. What he was doing was working. You got to go back and find that rhythm. It's not driving the car in there 40 feet deeper. It's driving the car in 10 feet too deep. And think about that at this speed, what 10 feet is. This is a game of precision.
He is really good in 1 and 2, and he's got a wide entry, and he gets down to that bottom and puts the splitter right on that apron and makes so much time from the center off. He's not replicating that in 3 and 4. It's a completely different corner, harder to do. But in 1 and 2, he's a very strong car. If he can keep that up, I think he'll probably be able to get there. I don't know if he'll make the pass.
They're both going around Mike Harmon in the 74 now.
That wide arc there, passing that lap car harder to get that apex a little sooner. Cost him a little time.
Under 10 laps to go. Christopher Bell trying to hold on to get his second win of 2018. Last one came at Richmond. Daniel Henrik has never won in the Xfinity Series. Still searching for that first win. How aggressive does he get as the laps wind down? Dave.
Don't forget, Christopher Bell started last today. The 23-year-old from Norman, Oklahoma, loves to race. He'll race every night of the week if he could. Won recently in his sprint car 60 miles from his home, and he's showing him how to do it tonight, Marty.
Dave, I love how these two top drivers have made it to the Xfinity Series on talent. Daniel Henrik, certainly that. Won the Legends Million race. That's kind of where he became famous. Then ran super late models. He has made it here to the Xfinity Series, and if he wins, Rick, we'll see his signature backflip. That's what he's done for years when he wins a race. He's hoping he gets to do that tonight.
Henrik's coming. He's about 2/10 a lap faster that lap. As he gets closer, it'll get harder, Junior, because the air starts coming off your car, and then Henrik's going to have to change what he's doing because of that lack of air.
If he can't find some kind of advantage or a little bit better way to get through 3 and 4, it's just not going to be enough. How good he is in 1 and 2, he's struggling, or Christopher Bell is that good in 3 and 4, so almost. And like you say, the closer he gets, the tougher it is going to be with that dirty air. And getting these lap cars at the inopportune time like that, having to chop your entry on the inside of a lap car hurts as well.
He needs a break. He needs a lap car to slow up Bell just a touch. Try to let him get a little bit closer.
The last couple corners have been devastating to that lead.
Bell is out front. Christopher Bell, a driver following in Kyle Larson's footsteps. A guy who loves to go out and run on the dirt, has great car control, and is making the transition into the stock car world. Made it well last year as he went on to win the Truck Series championship, and now trying to get his second win of 2018 in the Xfinity Series.
Last 2 laps, Daniel Henrik's had to enter turn 3 on the inside of a lap car, and that's just not helping, you know. Christopher Bell's been able to pass some cars on the straightaway, much easier situation and scenario, so he can get back out wide entry.
Little things like that is what Henrik needs. He needs Bell to get caught behind a slower car and just take some pace out of that 20. It's not going to be able to catch him unless something like that happens. But Jeske doing a really good job of just getting out of the way. You know, he's out of the race for the win. Really good job of just getting completely out of the way.
There's a lot of cars in front of Christopher Bell now that he's going to have to negotiate by.
These two here are going to be side by side in front of him. This is a difficult situation for sure.
This will slow him down.
He's going to need a little more than that. Henrik to be able to close that gap, as you can see.
Use the lappers. Use them here.
I think Bell did a remarkable job dealing with that slower traffic.
Cost him a little bit of that lead, but not enough.
Under 3 laps to go. And remember, these two racing for the win right now. Behind them is Kyle Busch. We talked about how dominant Kyle Busch has been in the Xfinity Series. Right now, fighting to stay in the 3rd spot is Kyle Busch.
Christopher Bell, Daniel Henrik outrunning one of the best ever in the Xfinity Series tonight. Another fast lap for Henrik, but it's only a couple thousandths, a 31 flat to a 30.98. So close.
That gap looking so close, but at the same time so far away because of the fact they're coming up on the final lap from Kentucky. Christopher Bell will get the white lap. The white flag, 1 lap. The lead a half a second. Christopher Bell and Daniel Henrik have put on an incredible show today. Able to work past the 18 of Kyle Busch. Fight through adversity. Christopher Bell started at the back of the field because he spun in qualifying earlier today. He goes on the spin and win at Kentucky.
Oh yeah, thank you guys. Dude, that is so awesome. So proud of you, man. Worked your guts out from the back to the front. That's the way you want to win them, man. Fun to watch. Great job all weekend, guys. Good job on pit road.
At 23 years old, he continues to learn. Spent time behind the 18 tonight watching Kyle Busch run around this racetrack and then use what he was learning earlier in the race to stay in front of Daniel Henrik, not giving him an opportunity.
Enjoy that burnout.
I felt like at the start of the season that this was a guy that was going to be the one to beat down in Homestead. Slowly starting to form into that team to be considered the best in the series. Championship contender.
Joe Gibbs Racing continues to put incredible talent behind the wheel. And as a coach, Joe Gibbs appreciates that. Being able to give these kids an opportunity, give them great equipment, and let them learn. And tonight it was Christopher Bell, who for a while was learning from the mentor in Kyle Busch. But then he became the teacher at the end of the race. And Christopher Bell gets his 3rd career win in the Xfinity Series. And celebrates right there at the start-finish line. Kelly.
What a day, what a weekend for Christopher Bell. There was the spin in qualifying, had to start this race from the rear, made his way all the way to victory lane. And Christopher, just how big to get this win on a day when you had to pass the best in the business and Kyle Busch, Justin Allgaier, and then hold off Daniel Henrik there at the end.
That was pretty special, man. I've been keep making mistakes, and I've been feeling really bad for my team. Everyone at Joe Gibbs Racing has been working really hard to build really fast race cars, and then I made another mistake there in qualifying that I didn't know if I was going to be able to get back here on this repave. But this Rim Camry was strong enough where we were able to get by those guys, and it just was working really good on the bottom of 3 and 4 over there. So. Hats off to Daniel, man. I know he's been trying really hard to get a NASCAR win here for a long time, and he's been really close. So it's going to come down to Homestead, and it's going to be a good one.
And your first Kentucky start, you get the win. What do you want to say to those fans?
I just want to say thank you for coming out, man. All you fans, you're the reason why we're out here. So if it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't be here. So thank you.
All right, we'll see you in victory lane.
What a day it has been for Christopher Bell. We mentioned the spin in qualifying. And Junior, you mentioned you can either be the pole winner or you can do something like this. It's that tight and that's that close.
It's easy to get yourself into trouble, but he rebounded. Smart, really good just to keep the car out of the fence when that happened.
That's a great point, because if you're getting the backup car out, that's a huge deficit. So even though he made a mistake, he made the most of it, and then just driving himself to the front. He took his time. He never got himself over his head. It's a really good job all night long, which ultimately led to this opportunity, finding Allgaier where he was weak and taking advantage of it.
Made the pass on Allgaier and went on to hold off Daniel Henrik and get the win. He celebrates with the checkered flag right next to him, and he'll be in victory lane when we come back. Next race for the Xfinity Series will be at a place where Jeff Burton knows so well what victory lane looks like there, New Hampshire Motor Speedway, the Magic Mile. That one's on NBCSN and starts at 4 p.m. Eastern. Make sure to join us for that. Can the momentum continue for Christopher Bell? This has got to be a fun ride, knowing you're going to see your crew at victory lane.
That's it right there. You heard him mention his team and felt like he had been making some mistakes and felt bad for those guys. And that's what I like about Christopher Bell. He knows he needs to be better. He's not afraid to work at it and appreciates the opportunity. Excited to get there with his team.
Steering wheel comes off. Get a good drink of water. It's been warm in that race car. And now celebrate.
And Rick, when you think about what he did tonight, it was come from behind again, and then avoid slow traffic right there at the end. Christopher, how would you describe the evening?
Man, it was extremely difficult. Starting in the back there, I knew my car was going to handle a little bit different than what it would at the front. And all throughout practice, I knew that we were a car that was capable of racing for the win. But whenever we started in the back, man, it just drives so different back there. And the guys kept getting good pit stops, and we gain a spot here, gain a spot there, get a good restart. And next thing you know, we're up there racing at the front, and it's driving totally different. And keep telling myself we got a shot at this thing. And just really proud of this team. Everyone at Ream, Rude, GameStop, Toyota, TRD, all the people at Xfinity that helped put this series on. It's just it's a ton of fun to be here, and I'm thankful that I get to stand in victory lane one more time.
How did you keep it together after the spots lost on pit road, Christopher?
It's just something you don't even think about, really. You just go out there, and your job is to drive the race car as fast as you can. And my guys have been doing a great job all night long. We were picking up spots, and I made a mistake last week at Chicago. I sped on pit road, and my guys didn't beat me up about it, so I wasn't going to say nothing to them about theirs.
It's a team effort, and the team effort puts a 20 in Christopher Bell in victory lane. Parker?
Justin Allgaier had the lead late, put up a heck of a fight. You end up fourth. What do you need to maybe beat that 20 car in the 21?
We just struggled all night long with our Whiskey River Camaro. It just really unfortunate. We felt like in practice, corner exit was our strong suit, and today, for whatever reason, we struggled with that. But the guys did a great job. Jason Burnett and all the boys did an awesome job making pit calls, and we just got way too tight at the end. And when you're bound up here at Kentucky, it's so hard to get around here. So hats off to all the guys at Junior Motorsports, everybody that works on this team. Pit crew did awesome tonight. All the fans that came out, hopefully everybody at home that was watching on NBC Sports, they got a great show, and they enjoyed it on their Xfinity service. And we'll keep digging. Our mile-and-a-half program is kind of been our weak point. So if we keep learning, I think we got a good shot at going to Homestead with the Final Four.
In those closing laps, we heard your team give you a suggestion of something to try, and you said, I wish I could. What was that?
Oh, just getting into 3. I knew that the 20 was beating me, as well as the 21 getting into 3. But the problem was for me is the corner exit. my entry was dictating my corner exit. I couldn't really do what they wanted me to do, and it was so frustrating from behind the wheel, knowing how to go faster and just not being able to do it.
Another great performance by Justin Allgaier, and probably what is a career year.
The win that almost was for Daniel Henrik tonight. Boy, when you pass the 18, then you pass the 7, you pass everybody for the lead. What happened in the last run?
I just didn't execute my end, did not get the restarts I needed to, and looking back at it, I was free taking off. Should have probably chose the top, keep people off my door, getting through 1, and if I could ever get through 3 and 4 the first lap, my car would tighten up enough where I could run, but unbelievably frustrated on my end, just not getting the job done for everybody at RCR and ECR and all these guys in South Beach Hotel Casino Chevrolet for giving me the opportunity to race, and I wish I had the opportunity to redo a couple things there on my end, but yeah, just didn't do my job.
It was nice of Chris Bell to give you a high five there. How frustrating was it, though, to try and catch him on those last few laps?
Yeah, I just was running so hard. I overheated the right front tire, and he'd missed the bottom 2 or 3 laps. It'd give me a little bit of hope, and I could get some back, but he did a good job there the last 5 laps getting through traffic and not overdriving his entry and keeping me air blocked enough where I couldn't keep my car turning good enough to make any gain. At that point, we kind of stalled out. So he did everything he was supposed to do. He earned it today, and I didn't, but hopefully we can move on and have no shot at it.
He's frustrated, but Daniel Henrik with a 2nd place continues his incredible run of late.
And he showed us the talent that he has as we see his name right now as we look at the playoff leaderboard in 5th as far as points go, but not able to get that win that has been eluding him for so long. Christopher Bell gets his 2nd win already of this season, joining Justin Allgaier also with 2 wins. Tyler Redick the win to start the season. Those 3 locked in to the playoffs. Marty.
Well, somehow Kyle Busch winds up finishing 3rd tonight, and he said the car just got too free there in that last run, next to last run, Kyle?
Yeah, it was probably hinting that way the run before that a little bit. I just didn't focus enough on it. I was kind of holding up the train for a little bit, and then after about 10, I started to drive away. So I knew I was a little bit free to fire, but I didn't think I was too loose overall. And then we didn't adjust on it there to keep up with the racetrack and the changing conditions, and we got too far behind. So good for a teammate to win. That's obviously good for Christopher and those guys for their chances in this year. But you know, our NOS Energy Drink Camry was a top 3 car all day today. I thought it was a top 1 car. 42 is probably the best car, but overall we come home 3rd. But that's not what we're here for. We need to win these things. So next time.
But then you said it had a vibration at the end. Is that correct? How'd you hang on to finish 3rd?
It wasn't bad. Dover was bad. Dover, it blew up.
Right.
It wasn't bad this time.
All right, bud. 3rd place for Kyle Busch.
And tomorrow, make sure to keep it right on NBCSN. IndyCar Series qualifying from Toronto starts it off at 5 o'clock. The pre-race at 6. NASCAR America countdown to green at 7, and then racing from the Bluegrass State, 7:30 for the Monster Energy Cup Series. And when we look at what we saw today as far as maybe finding a different line around this racetrack, Kyle Busch was running a little bit higher. Does that give the guys, the Cup guys that have been watching this, a little excitement about, hey, we got options out there?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about is the Cup guys that are going to run tomorrow watching this race and seeing what lines were working, what lines are working on the restarts is going to be real critical to a lot of these guys. So I know Kyle Larson was watching, probably liking what he was seeing in 1 and 2. I saw a few guys, particularly at the end of the second or the end of the first or second stage, Kyle Busch trying the outside line in 3 and 4, and it looked pretty good. So I think we're going to have a great race tomorrow.
What I think is interesting is on the restarts. And when I think about the Cup cars, those little small spoilers on them, driving into turn 1 side by side. We saw how how much trouble that was tonight. I think that will happen again tomorrow night.
How about your perspective from the Peacock pit box, Steve?
Well, I was excited because fast cars had an opportunity to go forward. The race winner started last. He didn't do it with strategy. He did it on the racetrack. That's what we're looking for out of any racetrack. I think this age on Kentucky is really showing up, and it's making for great racing.
Well, all smiles for Christopher Bell. As you mentioned, he drove from the back of the field all the way to the front, having to pass one of the best in Xfinity Series racing, as well as some great young talent that he's going to have to battle for quite some time. He ran down a dream tonight to get that win. Tomorrow night on NBCSN, it'll be Monster Energy Cup Series racing from right here in Kentucky. That race coverage, again, beginning at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Wild ride for a few drivers out there on this 1.5 miles, but in the end, Christopher Bell dominates. Able to hang on to keep Henrik behind him and get win number 2 on the season. Next up, it's NASCAR the Decades, 1980s.
This copyrighted telecast may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or used in any form without the authorized written consent of NASCAR Broadcasting. NASCAR would like to thank all of our fans for your support, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.